Well, here we are in Canada, finally, and what a fiasco it has been. And as you see, I'm not camping, I'm in a cabin at a resort, and that is because of a bizarre turn of events. But first of all, you have to hear about the fiasco that happened when I couldn't get through the border, so I'll roll that first and then I'll tell you about the rest of it. All right, the border fiasco has begun, and I've never seen anything like this going across the border into Ontario. They just can't all get on the same page. You know, sometimes you try to bring a bear out and they say, well, it's a CITES animal, so you got to have a CITES permit, so you just have to drive 2-3 hours to the next border crossing and cross there. This time I tried to go through at Rainy River and they said, no, you can't bring bear bait into Canada, which I've been bringing bear bait into Canada for I don't know how many years. And I said, a friend of mine just went through into Manitoba towards Winnipeg with bear bait, and another friend of mine went through 2 weeks ago through International Falls with bear bait, and they didn't stop him. And they said, well, sorry, that's the rules. And so I had to turn around and go back into the United States, and I'm going to go to the next border crossing here, which is only about, I don't know, less than an hour away, and try to cross into Manitoba. And at least if I can just get into Canada, then I'll figure out how to get, I got to go clear around the other side of Lake of the Woods. Wow, what a fiasco. Anyway, I'll keep you up to date on this. Virgil's already in Canada, so he made it through, going through Pembina. We'll see what happens next. Okay, so I went west and crossed into Manitoba on the west side of Lake of the Woods at the Sprague crossing, and he said the bear bait's fine and didn't ask me about the eggs. Where when I was about to cross into Ontario, they told me I had to throw my eggs in the dumpster because of bird flu. And so now I'm in Manitoba and I'm on the west side of Lake of the Woods, and I have to decide if I'm going to try to go through the Braintree Road, which is it could be pretty dicey with all this rain that we've had. It's pretty swampy up there. I don't know if the road could possibly be covered with flooding or not. And either way, it's like got to be close to 100 miles of gravel, which is probably going to be a mess. So I sure don't want to go all the way west to Winnipeg and then turn around and have to come back. So I'm going to have to pull over up here somewhere, try to figure this out. Not the kind of setback I was really hoping for on this trip, but yeah, that's kind of the way things go sometimes. So anyway, it took me about 2.5-3 hours longer to get up here because of that. And what I'm about to tell you, I'm going to try to be sensitive about it, because it's just tough to talk about and to try to explain. This is public, so I don't want to hurt people's feelings. But when we arrived at the camp, Virgil pulled in just before me, and Eddie, the outfitter who has this bear hunting concession, was supposed to meet us there, and he wasn't there. He had, well, here the camp was burned out, partially burned out, and had basically been trashed. It was just a mess, and there was a fifth wheel that was left there by a guy from Rochester, Minnesota, that was also torched, and Eddie's cabin was burned down, and the place was just an absolute mess, and there's no sign of Eddie. And so there's a couple other guys that come up here from Tennessee who are going to be here at the same time as us, and I have been in contact with them. They're good guys, and they pulled in also and had not been able to get a hold of Eddie, and he's supposed to be fully guiding them and baiting for them and everything like that. So they're staying at this resort that's 15 miles down the road, And so we all, since Eddie didn't show up there after 2.5 hours, we all decided to come back here. And we were sitting there in the truck, and it was raining, and the ice had just went off the lake a day before, and a cold wind blowing in there, and we're just kind of sitting in the truck trying to keep warm, not really wanting to set up our tents and camp in that weather. So when we came back down to the resort, we just decided to stay here and try to sort out what's going on. Well, the resort owner, George, knows Eddie's girlfriend's mother, so he called her and actually got a hold of Eddie, and Eddie said, "Oh, is this the day that they're supposed to be there?" And according to George, his words were that Eddie was wasted, which has apparently been a pretty long-term pattern for the last couple of years during COVID. And we also found out that he wrecked his truck, so he doesn't have any wheels. He has not gone to the Ministry of Natural Resources to get all of the guide forms and paperwork that he has to sign for us to hunt. And because that was Saturday, it's going to be Monday, now it's Sunday morning now, it's going to be Monday tomorrow before he can get to the Ministry of Natural Resources to get the paperwork, if he can get a ride, which is about an hour away from where he's at. So we're probably going to possibly have to go get him tomorrow and take him down to the DNR offices in Kenora, and so we get the paperwork signed so we can hunt. In the meantime, what we've decided, see, in the past I've always been able to lock the gate on Eddie's property whenever I was there. We camped there, and whenever we leave, just lock the gate. Well, I don't have a key for it anymore, and the gate is standing open, which is part of the reason why the camp has been trashed, I suspect. So I know this is getting kind of long, but it's very, very detailed, and it's a mess. So what Virgil and I have decided we're going to do is just go ahead. We're all set up to hunt, so there's nothing to preclude us from baiting. So we're going to go out today and start running some of the baits. They've had a bunch of storms up here, and with the snow melt and stuff, the roads are probably, these back roads are probably in really rough shape. Some of these baits are down trails that nobody's probably been back in there since I was in there in 2018, and we're probably going to need to cut logs and sticks and do some trimming, and we'll have to see if there's one particular area I'm a little bit worried about with this rain and storms, and then the snow melt. The road might be completely washed out. We might not be able to get back to the Betsy bait. But I think we're going to start with dynamite and then do Cox Lake and maybe sugar, and we'll probably do those 4 baits. But that's where we're at. And so, you know, sorry for this drama. It's quite a fiasco, but my heart is torn for a guy who I really was good friends with, who's just drove his whole life off into the ditch.